I really do see our purpose as bringing to the world tools, but also education to really empower people to take control of their health so they can live happier, healthier, longer lives. It's very easy for things to kind of get in your way, things like equity and money and ego. As long as there's a foundation set up and an understanding from the beginning, you don't ever talk about it again. You have a contract with your partner, whether it's your sibling or your friend, you don't look at it again.
On today's episode, serial entrepreneurs and founders of DirTea and Limelight, Simon and Andrew Salter.
Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. This is the first time I have two guests.
Oh, really?
Two brothers, no less.
We come as a pair, unfortunately. I can't have one or the other.
I love
that.
I
did actually try and pitch. I tried to picture myself, but there we go.
It never works.
Didn't work.
Fantastic. Well, guys, if I started right from the source and we spoke about your origin story, say your life was your childhood and your teenage years were a teaser trailer, what would that trailer show? Obviously, you'd have to answer separately, because what's your age difference?
6.5 years.
Okay.
Well, in who's weighing on which side? Who do you think's older?
Well, I guess you go first.
What, me being the oldest one?
Yeah.
You knew I was oldest. It's so you'd like me to just kind of break down as a trailer the way that I grew up. Oh God, the way I grew up. So I would say that I was slightly a black sheep, sociable, but God, I'm now getting these kind of feelings that my mum and dad used to say, that I was very kind of a distracted kind of kid, to the point they would take me to a restaurant and I was a bit of a noise. I was a bit of a distraction. Maybe those are the early days of potentially that I was had ADHD or something, which I don't think I really do have. But I think I was a distraction, but it wasn't until my brother was born that maybe I was calm because I had someone I could connect with at a younger age.
Oh, that's me.
And that'd be my brother. But always remarkably unemployable, always looking for something greater beyond authority. And again, having my brothers on my side, we used to support each other. And it's been a wonderful dance with both of us, building something we've been passionate about. But with that passion becomes adversities and challenge. But that's the great test, I guess. So yeah, individually a distraction. But when he came, I guess everything became an easier kind of journey.
Interesting. So you were very much a troublemaker, and then came Andrew and grounded you.
Yeah, I think we grounded each other. No.
Okay. Oh well.
That sounds weird.
Let's hear about your teaser trailer.
So in school I was probably quite academic, but I was never particularly interested in school. I think probably because following a very formulaic path that never fed an opportunity for greatness. I never thought that if I follow the school paradigm, I could become great. I really wanted to become one of the greats. What a bit of an ambitious thing to have.
What does that mean?
To have a lot. Well, at that age, it was having a lot of success. In whatever I do, and want to be.
Success meaning money, fame.
Definitely economics for sure, money for sure. But being number one, I was very much inspired by the leaders. Particularly in sports. So I was quite sporty when I was young. Si and I both were sort of top tennis players. We played for county. We played for the country at some points as well. So it's
never play with you, noted.
So it was something we were very, very dedicated, sort of competitive athletes. It was a big thing within the family. It was one point, I think, for both of us that our career was going to be in tennis. So that was quite a big thing. But also, I think we tried a lot of different things when we were younger. We both, I probably followed everything you did, maybe did a little bit better. But, we were musicians as well. So we were drummers. So, I was in a band in sort of my mid-teens. And I think our mum was brilliant in terms of bringing us up. She really wanted us to get as many opportunities as possible. And she probably made us think that anything was possible. One thing we both did as well, we both went to Sylvia Young, which is a theatre school in central London. And it's a place that people like Rita Ora went to, Amy Winehouse. And you basically go to this school and they're great in terms of, from a performing arts point of view. They teach you to act, they teach you to dance, to sing. But most importantly, they teach you how to be more creative, how to be more original, and they give you a lot of confidence as well. So for me, it was quite exciting that every Saturday I would travel into London on my own and I would go to this theatre school, meeting with people that are very different to the types of people I went to school with. And that was more exciting for me. And we started to take that route quite seriously, the idea of becoming actors or directors or working in the film business was quite exciting for us. I think the idea of America and Hollywood was always quite exciting for us as well. So, I used to make films at home with my best friend, little home movies. We used to write scripts together, and we both got represented by a talent agent. So we used to do a little bit of acting. We were in a series of different films and TV shows. From the age of about, for me, it was younger, I think 11, because you would have started earlier there, up till about the age of 16. I think for me, when I reached the age of 16, I really then got uncomfortable and dissatisfied with school. So I wouldn't really attend much. I think my attendance in sixth form was about 50%. And interestingly enough, and where Simon was really good with me is, so when you have siblings and you have an elder sibling, particularly when they're, quite a bit older, they have like two choices. So one is, are they going to just push you away and say you're too young, you can't hang out with me and my friends? Or they can go the other way. What's that?
Been there.
Yeah. Or the other side is they see themselves as more as a mentor to you, and they'll take you under their wing and they'll show you what life is like. And that's what my brother did. So he really welcomed me into his life in terms of his friends and his social life. And also from a young age, I was quite entrepreneurial. So I would start businesses in school. So actually my brother's best friend sort of taught me about e-commerce. So I learned very young about things like eBay. So I used to buy products and resell them on eBay, or buy them on eBay and resell them in school, making some decent cash for a young 14, 15-year-old.
Can I say that you told me I had to give you a teaser?
Yeah, but
he's giving you.
He's giving me the movie.
Yeah, but she'll edit it. It's fine.
Yeah, right.
So anyway,
Wow.
And I'm actually covering you as well. I'm adding.
That's very kind.
I'm adding.
That's kind.
So yeah, and so I obviously sort of went to university, graduated university, and went into sort of working. So he was working in sort of the entertainment business, helping to launch TV shows, mainly animations. And what was quite cool is he would involve me in that as well, and he let me be involved. We also went through a phase where, like a lot of young entrepreneurs, we got into club promotion. So we used to put nightclub nights on in West London as well.
And you were really
in West
young.
End. I was I was underage. So we were promoting nights as well. And one thing we were, we've always been quite good at two different things. So one is pioneering ideas, and the second thing is powerhouse network. So we've always seen the
Powerhouse network.
Yeah, I don't know, I just called it that. But basically the whole idea of that is that we've always seen the importance of like who you know and building a network, because these relationships, which we've seen further on in our career, you can actually leverage. And if you build them up over time, it can be really important in terms of finding mentors. We definitely found lots of father figures as we were growing up, and also people that can really connect us and give us credibility, or educate us as well. So I think my brother and I really then sort of united as I left school, and we got quite inspired by a lady who unfortunately lost her son to testicular cancer at the age of 19, because he was unaware of the symptoms of testicular cancer, unaware that you can get cancer at such a young age. And being a guy, he felt he was invincible, and also it's your balls, so it's quite an embarrassing area to discuss. So that inspired both of us, and it kind of created our first most successful venture, which was Feeling Nutz.
Yes, I read about that. You amassed something like 1 billion people
Just
between
over.
the viewers. Yeah. Sorry.
Individuals. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, we did.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just over 1 billion people that followed you, participated in the campaign, and you had incredible celebrities. You had Cara Delevingne, you had Hugh Jackman, you had Jack Whitehall, and in the process of doing that, you guys actually dropped your own pants in Oxford Street.
Yeah, we
Oh, you did see that?
Yeah, I didn't see that. I read about that.
Okay.
That's kind of what tipped it over the edge, because kind of in terms of the perception of us, but also tipped it over the edge in terms of the movement. So yeah,
But my only question there is, where did you guys get the balls to do that?
Oh, okay. It did take a lot of balls. Yeah, it was an idea we had. So our whole thing was built around this whole idea about having life in your hands. There's a chance to have life in your hands. And if you want to join our movement, you've got to grab your crotch and show that you're actually feeling nuts. And that was the call to arms. So in order to really create a display and show people that we really meant it, we went to Oxford Circus into the middle of Oxford Street, and we dropped our trousers and we grabbed our crotch. And then what we did is we challenged 3 people One was Sam Branson, so Richard Branson's son. This is where Network comes into play. A band called 5 Seconds of Summer, who were huge at the time. They were like the next One Direction from Australia. And I don't remember who the third was. And they all responded, which led to some serious people like Ricky Gervais. Yeah, it led to people like Ricky Gervais and Hugh Jackman, like you said, The Rock, Ed Sheeran, and yeah.
It's probably quite important though to go back to the premises of why, or of the idea of engaging a generation that wouldn't normally connect to an idea like this, because it's talking about something's charitable. We weren't charitable, but the whole area of cancer or owning up to your mortality is almost like a negative compunction, and the kind of language and everything behind it was like this very white coat government official statistics, give us the money and we'll find a cure. The interesting thing, which was really the epiphany for my brother and I, was the fact that testicular cancer, which if caught early is pretty much curable, 99% curable, or at least treatable. And
as long as it's confined to the testicle and it hasn't metastasized or spread.
Exactly. So being young, a young child, your hormones are going crazy anyway. So to metastasize there's a high probability. It was really the power of prevention, that you can own something, like Andy's saying, like in your hands kind of thing, that you can own this, and having the knowledge to be empowered to go into your GP and get something before it gets you is quite powerful. Yet there's this inevitable repetition where charities use negative compunction, all about money. But for us, seeing Wendy speak on stage about her son who lost his life because he never spoke up about something,
which we always say was needless, had he had the education in the first place, and those barriers, psychological barriers, were broken down, then he'd still be alive. So we basically launched this movement in his name, and the whole idea was like, sort of Sai was alluding to, was it's not about generating money. It's very difficult to find cures for things like cancer, but what we can do and own right now is the idea of being in check. So in terms of ownership, is that if you can take control of your health, so being in check with your testicles and knowing what to look out for, and you speak up at the right time, you can entirely stop yourself dying from it.
So every death we thought was needless.
Yeah. So the whole idea was two things: was education, so educating people on how to check, but to get people to listen in the first place, we used a form of entertainment and comedy to lure the audience in. So most charities at that point would use kind of a negative narrative, fear marketing, because that encourages people to donate money to research, whereas we used entertainment as a way to lure audience in, and then once we captured their attention, then we would give them the education.
So I want to hear about what was happening in your head. So from the moment that you got inspired to actually executing this, was there this grand plan? Did you have any idea of what it would become?
Andy's saying the very beginning, I think there's a sense of we have these kind of visions, these ideas, and we've got this yearning just to get it out there. And I think at the very beginning, in the very beginning, the vision was always there. It was always about global. There was nothing mediocre about this.
I think the thing for us from a very young age, we've been very ambitious, and we've believed in the impossible. And there's an element of naivety in that, but we've genuinely believed in ourselves, and we've been so inspired by those that have come before us that it's motivated us to really succeed and achieve. And definitely as the plans evolved and we got further into it, the months it went, or the years of planning it went into, it definitely, our ambitions grew, because suddenly we were being accepted into like the idea of maybe doing it at Wembley Arena was like, well, that's huge. And then suddenly it went to, well, if we get to Wembley Arena, we can probably close down Times Square. And then we closed down Times Square and we said, what about we take over the Las Vegas Strip?
Well, when you said you closed down Times Square, the idea is we met with Mayor Bloomberg, we met with all the owners of all the buildings in Times Square. I know we haven't said too much about how it all happened, but it was this idea that something became contagious. Actually, in an area we're talking about where there's an epidemic, we can talk about cancer and so forth, this conversation was becoming an epidemic. People were gravitating to this vision we had, and everyone wanted to be on board.
Our whole thing was that, and we were inspired by Live Aid and Bob Geldof. I'd say like Bob Geldof was a real idol for us at the point of planning this, and it's quite a young age. It's quite incredible. There hadn't really been this, you speak about global, it was the first ever like globally broadcasted concert. Live Aid was in 1984 or 5. He managed to convince, and at that point he wasn't particularly a big rock star, but he managed to convince the biggest stars in the world. But the way he went about doing it is, he'd call up someone like Elton John and say, I want you to perform at this concert for Africa. I've got Queen have agreed to do it. And he hadn't even spoken to Queen. And Elton John said, well, if Queen are in, I'm in. And then he called Queen and saying, you know, I'm doing this concert, Elton John's in. And he was, Elton John's in, I'm in. So we were very much inspired. We wouldn't do that now at our careers. Like, we'd actually get these people involved. But we were inspired by the bravado that someone like Bob Geldof had. So to that point is, we represented a new generation, which was this sort of like cyber culture, digital age, social media. And we decided we wanted to create the digital age of Live Aid. And that was the ambition. So we wanted something that was bigger than Live Aid. We wanted to reach more people, but we wanted to do it in a digital way. So the whole idea about having, you know, we secured the first ever live broadcasted YouTube event. No one had ever live streamed on YouTube before, for example. You know, like you say, we managed to get James Corden and Jack Whitehall to host our TV show on Channel 4, which was the Feeling Nutz comedy night. You know, we reached 1 billion people in 157 countries, so it truly was global. So yeah, we were very ambitious, and probably how we imagined it to be in the end, it probably didn't get quite to that. It definitely reached more people.
But maybe it might be quite important that this was never supposed to happen, and we were challenged to the point, I think I could say this on a podcast, that we were kicked out of America. We were arrested and accosted at JFK by 8 officers.
Well, we were young when we were doing this. I mean, I was probably 20 at the time. And this is where naivety can play in your favor, and it can also backfire as well. So I think naivety can get you anywhere in life, but also, you know, in this circumstance, so we were on an ESTA visa. ESTA visa is the visa anyone gets in the UK if they don't travel.
You're supposed to be working, I guess.
Not working visa. We needed a visa that basically it was kind of clear what we were doing in the States, because we were basically spending most of our time there, and we were essentially living there. And we would, you know, it lasts 2 years of visa, and you have to leave within 90 days. You can't stay over 90 days. So we were working within the rules, but we're taking advantage of it. And just one day they decided to not let us in.
Are you allowed back now?
Yeah, we have a 10-year visa now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, still go through secondary sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, with this whole experience, from the moment of inception of the idea to taking action to then getting all that traction, how has that experience shaped you? And what has it taught you?
So say that again.
So from an idea to action to getting all of that momentum, all of that traction, how has that whole experience shaped you?
So one of the biggest things for me is that I've realized everything that we've always done in life up to now, up to DirTea, is we've always required someone else or something else to determine whether it happens or if it's successful. You know, an example of a recording artist where it's changed is that a recording artist required a recording deal and a promoter to both release an album, distribute it around the world, promote it, market it, put marketing budget behind it, and a promoter to pay for a tour, take them on tour, right? So without those two entities, which is why a lot of musicians struggle to become successful, right? And we've always come up with ideas that requires a counterpart, whether it's capital money or whether it's a platform, a marketing platform or a broadcast platform. We've always required that. And our current business now, which has become very successful, DirTea, is we're a direct consumer business. We have our own platform and we drive all traffic to our website. We don't require a retailer. We don't require a store. We don't require a marketing part. We don't require anything. So no one is in control of our destiny. We are. That was one of the biggest lessons I've had, because we don't want anyone or anything to be the make or the break of whether something happens or it doesn't, or whether it's successful or it's not. So that was one of the biggest lessons that I got, and we put into practice now. And we are more successful than we've ever been as a result of many things, but that in particular.
I was going to say, personally, I think what Feeling Nutz taught us was this concept of vox populi, was power of the people. So when you have an idea, it can be contagious. Like I was saying before, it can create a disciple effect. All of a sudden, you put the message out into the ether, and then either others will come and they'll continue that story. So what I've learned, like Anne is saying, to where we are now, we don't have to rely upon anyone else, on the basis that if you lead with truth, if you lead with purpose, and it resonates to others, people will follow.
I think another thing is about building a brand that connects with culture. So having the insights to understand the mindset and psychology of the consumer.
How do you get those insights?
I mean, that would be giving away my secrets.
That's the secret sauce right there.
A lot of it's like data, right? So it's looking at people's behavior online, things like Google searches. looking at what celebrities are doing. So typically, cultural influencers, right? Someone like Pharrell Williams is now the creative director of Louis Vuitton. Like he didn't go to, did he go to fashion school? Did he learn how to design? No, it's because he can influence culture. Understanding those personalities and what they're doing, what's going on in the world of music and arts and theatre, and being really connected to that, because these are the people that actually shape culture and they shape trends. So being really tapped into that from two reasons. One is like understanding like what is the next trend is one part. Who are the cultural influencers? So for example, now you might even look to more like digital talent, so like podcasters, for example, particularly through the pandemic or prior to that. You look at someone like Joe Rogan, for example, who's spoken about esoteric things on his podcast, subjects that particularly broadcasters wouldn't allow on, but he has the freedom to talk about what he wants, that have brought into the mainstream subjects such as mushrooms that people weren't talking about before. So being tapped into things like that. So
I'd also say that I'd also say that in some cases I've always found the UK can be slightly behind in culture.
Behind who?
I
always like to say that Italy is behind.
Well, not to say not everyone's like
I'd
back
say
to
like
back to back.
California's very ahead in terms of things like wellness.
May I say? Yes, you're right. So when we did go to California, for example, I always say to Andy, it's like a time capsule. It's like we've just gone to the future. Like everything they're talking about, of course, they have the symbiosis of the sun and the sand and the vegetation and living life to its fullest, and the dreamers can dream.
Living your best life.
Living your best life, exactly. YOLO, whatever. Anyway, but the point being is that you see that they're doing something that is, if we're talking about wellness, they're tapped into something, into the zeitgeist. So far ahead of us, you come back, it's like going back in time. So there is this essence of going to different other territories around the world, seeing what culture's doing there and how it lends into culture where we are now, that people are kind of there. And it's like you said, it's esoteric, but it will become mass. It will become a trend. And
which is what we've mastered. So we've been able to find trends very early, knowing they are going to become the next big thing. And we've tapped into that early at a time when it is niche, and we do have this art for being able to push something into the mainstream, give it mass appeal. And that's because we're very good at building and creating consumer brands, and consumer brands that probably have an underbelly of a movement.
What made you so good at it?
What made us so good about it? I think taste. I think we've got great taste, as you can tell by my fashion.
maybe from the ankle down. I don't know, ankle up.
So I think just good taste. I think being inspired by those that have come before us. What's that?
No, nothing much actually. But I was going to say that also there are some great kind of leaders and writers and business titans that we've always kind of tapped into from the past, from Disney to Jobs to that. It's almost, when you read into these guys, you're just peering beyond the velvet cloth, like behind.
Well, I think a great example is the person that I'm personally very inspired by is Phil Knight, who started Nike, and he's someone who, as a leader of a business, whether it's him or his team, have always tapped into culture, right? Always tapped into trends and used the platform they have to actually move these trends into sort of the mainstream. There's a great film out at the moment called Air. I don't know if you've seen it.
Not yet.
So, which is the story of Air Jordan. And if you look at that, as basketball was quite a niche sport. It wasn't mainstream. It wasn't NFL. It wasn't Major League Baseball. But he had people within the company that really believed in the sport of basketball, and they were able to identify Michael Jordan's the next great thing. And if they could align with him, it would turn Nike into a superstar brand. And obviously Jordan is just the Jordan sneaker itself is $1 billion empire. So we've definitely been inspired by, like Sai says, people that have come before us.
So let's talk about your current venture, DirTea.
Yes.
I've tried it. I loved it.
Cool.
So thank you for making it.
It's a
taking
pleasure.
the world by storm.
We should really thank nature, but there we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being the conduits and
Yes.
bringing that nature into
Yeah.
our homes. For people that don't know what it is, what is DirTea?
The trailer of DirTea.
Get ready for the movie. Go for it.
So fungi, which mushrooms come from as a kingdom, is a very vast and abundant kingdom.
So it's a mushroom
It is a mushroom,
beverage.
kind of.
Coffee, tea.
Yeah.
No supplements, coffee and tea.
Exactly. So it's basically, they are pure extract powders. So within the fungi kingdom, you have functional mushrooms. So there's over 140,000 species of fungi that have been explained by scientists. They do a variety of things. You know, we obviously know about like magic mushrooms. So they have psychoactive properties in that are now getting a lot of interest from scientists because they might be able to deal with things like mental health and PTSD. There are mushrooms that we have in our soup and we have in our pasta that are more for culinary use and taste. And there are ones that are poisonous. But like every kingdom, the plant kingdom, the berry kingdom, fungi also have some poisonous mushrooms as well. So as a result of that, there's a stigma that exists in mushrooms, and there's not much education that exists in terms of fungi and mushrooms, which we are changing. We're on a mission to really destigmatize fungi. There's something we refer to called mycophobia, which is the irrational fear of mushrooms. So humans tend to fear...
That must be Super Mario then.
Yeah, right. So if humans tend to fear what they don't understand, and to most, mushrooms are quite mysterious, yet they've been around longer than us. They've been around over 1 billion years. First species to come from the ocean to the dry land. And they created something called a mycelium network, which is an underground tubular cell network that plugs into the entire forest. It allows plants and trees to get their nutrients, their vitamins, their minerals. They wouldn't be able to survive without it. And then of that mycelium network, you have the fruiting body, which is the mushroom. The mushroom is the part that we see. And there are 140,000 explained, 4 million that exist. Within the 140,000, there are functional mushrooms. So these are mushrooms that have functional value. And those are the mushrooms we're interested in. They have functional value because they have active compounds in them that essentially are incredible for human health, mental health, physical health. They are a source of natural immunity. They can increase focus, improve memory, soothe stress and anxiety, help us sleep better. They can even improve our skin. They contain things like hyaluronic acid. They contain more antioxidants than anything else on planet Earth. And we learned about 7 years ago that if you consume them every day, they can dramatically improve your health.
Why 7 years ago?
Oh, well, so my brother and I were building a wonderful company. It was an incubator where we'd partner with cutting edge ideas and founders and businesses, and basically found a way, which we've been discussing around this blueprint about how do you take something and scale it and make it global. And we had the capability through our secret sauce to kind of do that with a lot of the businesses we worked with, and they succeeded remarkably well. The one thing that wasn't succeeding were the founders and the CEOs. They were having their foot on the pedal so hard in life that, and as the body is resilient, but sometimes it will give way, and then chronic symptoms will start to present themselves, whether it be through sleep, anxiety, stress, an accumulation where the body is completely out of sync.
I think what we sort of discovered is a lot of people are going through something called chronic burnout, which is essentially physical and emotional exhaustion. And I think the issue that Si and I saw is that the first thing people do when they start to have an issue in their body, which, you know, things like stress and anxiety, sleep, ADHD are like hot topics right now. They'll go to their doctor and their GP and they get prescribed with conventional medicine.
Now, how fascinating is this? What they're mostly being prescribed are the symptoms rather than the cause. And on top of that, these different types of allopathic medicine or conventional medicines tend to kind of numb the issue. They don't actually tend to
almost
cure.
like managing
Guys, you're
disease.
talking to somebody whose mother has been practicing alternative medicine for 40 years.
Oh, then
So
you-
we're here to learn from you.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
turn the camera towards you now. Okay.
So we we kind of looked at them in a way that, you know, because we did see they were taking medication and we saw some negative side effects as a result.
Yeah.
And we kind of looked at them going like, you know, we're in our 20s, early 30s, and, you know, we're starting to get quite tired and exhausted, and we don't have the energy we used to in our early 20s when we were doing feeling nuts, where we could be up all night, working all night.
We were burning the candles from both ends. I'm just
Didn't
realizing
really-
that now when you're saying
Yeah,
it.
exactly. I think that's why you didn't have the energy later. 'Cause
Right,
you were going so
absolutely.
hard.
And,
We
I also had the same hairstyle as my brother, so there are some repercussions.
I was gonna ask about that. Did you just want to like be really looking different?
Yeah.
Was
There's
that
a yin and yang, I guess, but you know, the reality is, since let me say this is a slight
It's like
kind of this
Bruce
is,
Willis and Keanu Reeves, right?
yeah.
okay, all right. I see.
Okay, I want to go for another one, but the
I can't
reality
remember the other guy's name.
there isn't. Well, there's Jason Statham, but I have my morning and evening routine, so I've been studying for years. But one of the things I do in the morning is, after all the things I do, which I won't go into now, is I shave my head but I do it in a very therapeutic kind of way. It's like bringing the day in anew.
Okay, that's a mindfulness ritual.
It's a very mindful. It's a meditation I go through when I do it. It's a sense of gratitude I do for every stroke that I take upon my head, and then I slap my head, throw some cream on, and I'm on to have a rock and roll day. But sorry for the slight curveball there. So,
but yeah, I think as well is that
no, I did ask. So
yeah, you did ask.
The other thing is when you're younger, you don't have to. You should be actually, but because you don't see the immediate ramifications of it, you
carry on.
What?
You carry on. As you don't see
yeah, exactly.
Carry on.
So you kind of drinking Red Bulls or over caffeinating yourself or having a poor diet, you don't really see the negative sides of it immediately as you probably would as you get older. So we kind of like reviewed ourselves,
self-diagnosis.
And Sai was like brilliant because he tapped straight into kind of things like preventional medicine, but more kind of like things that are born and grown through or nature being a source. So, you know, we read a lot into like Ayurvedic, a lot into adaptogens, a lot into plant medicine.
There was this idea that what I realised, I was about to sneeze and I'd hate it on your wonderful microphone, is the idea that most everything I was finding was natural. Most everything lent this idea that there's symbiosis we do share with nature. Actually, Andy brought up just before talking about how mushrooms can improve mind and body over a period of time. Well, that's something that's grown from the ground. That's something there to provide the well-being for the future of our planet, and it's there to provide the well-being of the human health, which I find absolutely fascinating. So you're talking about an area which is completely utterly dismissed because it's ancestral. It was thousands of years ago that these kind of stories about how different ancestral tools were used to improve mind and body for those who lived thousands of years ago who didn't have what we have right now, where you can walk into a room and you can actually influence the temperature. You know, you're always going to be comfortable, but the body does need to be in a stress to keep it so it can actually adapt to stress. So I was always fascinated by, well, what are the other tools that I can bring to our life that could consistently improve our well-being, because we were in a situation where there was an unknown. I'm sorry to carry on. Just one quick thing is the fact that when we were going to school to be educated, we did do science, but nothing really complemented the idea of what we had and what we can own, mind and body. It was other areas of biology. It had nothing to do with anatomy, our mind and body. So there's a frustration that what we were finding out now was never taught to us at a young age. And certainly for our mother's and father's generation, you know, it's a stiff upper lip, take this pill, carry on your day, have some cowpole, which was something I was given a lot.
It's so interesting because everything that we make in the medicine and everything else, somehow, one way or another, we've taken either inspiration or knowledge from the nature.
Totally, yeah.
So the very notion that we're dismissing that right now, and the original tools that even gave us everything else that came later on, is quite...
It's exactly what you were
by
saying.
the way, like
silly.
Before,
by the way, everything does come from nature.
Yeah, everything
the
does.
problem
Literally.
is the supply chain, and it's what people are putting into these drugs that are causing these sort of side effects, whether they're bulking agents or whatever it is. But we, like, you know, to your point, is like we wanted to go to nature's source. But the important thing for us, I was going to say a minute ago, is that we read so much into the science and the studies. And, you know, mushrooms, for example, are some of the most researched foods out there. And there is so much to read about, mostly animal studies, but also human studies as well, that is able to prove that they do incredible things for your mind and your body. A lot more research needs to be done, of course. And, you know, a big part of what we're working towards.
Well, I think enough research has been done that most of the things on the shelves are definitely not good for us.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, we can talk about that as well if you want a bit later on.
But when we went on this sort of journey, is like we noticed, you know, sort of feeling better, improving, but it wasn't until we were introduced to functional mushrooms and done in a way that, you know, it was someone from China that actually introduced us to it, a medicinal functional doctor. And she explained it in an incredible way, in a way that made us really appreciate these functional mushrooms.
They came with stories. They came with these narratives, which is phenomenal because it was never taught to us. But I think, aesthetically, the whole experience of being handed these teas was amazing, right? It
was amazing. And so we decided to, you know, drink them every day, and we saw our health really transform. A lot more calmer, less stressed. Way more energy. Our sleep dramatically improved. One of the big things was immunity health. I didn't actually realize how often I was getting like flus and colds and viruses. And as we were traveling, picking up things on planes and stuff like that, it was always such an inconvenience. But I never actually thought that I could take control of it. But the idea of natural immunity, and, you know, mushrooms are mostly known for their immunity properties. So they have something called polysaccharides, which is an active compound which modulates your immune system. And it has this ability to actually prevent allergies, so things like hay fever. So I'll drink Chaga and Reishi in the summer, and it stops me from getting hay fever. But then we have a new mushroom called turkey tail, which has something called beta D-glucans, which are immune modulators. It has more beta D-glucans than any other mushroom. And that just really stops me getting ill. Something coming on it will just stop it in its tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So we really saw a profound difference. And then we decided we've got to like get other people on this. So, you know, we got our parents on it, we got our sister on it, we got our friends, our colleagues, our partners, and it was quite incredible that within days we would get messages going, you just like resolved my sleep, or you know, you sorted out the symptoms I was getting from menopause, or even some people were saying you like fixed my sex drive. And it was absolutely phenomenal. And then we started to be known as the Mushroom Brothers, because at that point it was weird, the fact that we were going around drinking mushrooms and convincing other people
we're going
to
to clubs and bars or cafes with mushrooms in our bags. If there's a correlation, you can see with what Andy's discussing the narrative of how we brought these mushrooms to the mass. It's no difference to what we did when we were creating Philly Nuts. We found that hidden nugget, that we found a way to build a narrative.
But also it's correlation, because it's this whole idea about taking control of your health.
Yeah.
And really understanding.
Yeah, you guys literally, you created it in 2020. I mean, most perfect time to get anything that is immune boosting and selling online ever. You hit a jackpot.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't 2020. Otherwise, that'd been amazing.
It was 2020.
It was 2021. So it's just coming up 2 years ago now.
Just coming out of it.
2021. Yeah. I mean, we had the idea for a very long time, but actually the pandemic enabled us. It freed a lot of our time up.
There we go. A bit of a positive out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
For your listeners.
I think, but the pandemic has been a terrible thing that happened. They always say that you need a crisis. In order for a breakthrough, you need a crisis. A breakdown, sorry. But what's been great for us is that people are taking their health seriously now. And people are investing a lot more money on preventative healthcare, vitamins, supplements.
There's definitely more awareness now than ever before.
100%. You know, people are using a lot more health technologies, wearing glucose monitors, you know, Aura rings, Whoops.
I've got my CGM on.
Yeah, people are more interested in longevity. People are more interested in taking care of their mind, whether that is like the mindful movement and meditation and being more present, or whether that's drinking things like lion's mane, which can regrow and regenerate
let's
neurons.
Talk about the different mushrooms and their properties.
So we'll unpackage each one. Which one do you want to start off with?
I can start with lion's mane.
Yeah, okay.
So lion's mane has something called neuro growth factor. So it stimulates the growth of new neurons in the hippocampus, which is the thinking part of the brain. And what that means is it's able to potentially increase focus and improve memory. We have it's our best-selling product because people really see the difference in their focus. Whether
it's so nice as well.
Whether they're a lawyer, a writer, they're in school. We have a lot of people who have ADHD, and it's curbed a lot of the symptoms, and a lot of people that have come off medication as a result of that. Not that we've ever promoted them to do that, but that's some of the feedback that we've had. And we call that the focus mushroom. It's absolutely delicious. It can be enjoyed with hot water. Most people will actually add it to their morning coffee and smoothie.
And some of the discoveries are quite recent. I say recent. 1991, there's a Japanese mycologist called Dr. Kashimigi who actually, and we don't know how, he was able to kind of isolate these compounds, and he was talking about Reishi marinecines to realize that this can create something which we were discussing, nerve growth factor. And it's a wonderful looking mushroom. Actually, it was one of the first mushrooms we were presented with, and it completely personified this statement that this is nature's art. Okay. And how fascinating that you have to really kind of navigate through the forest to kind of be presented with these kind of beautiful mushrooms. The other mushroom I was going to say that I'd love to talk about is reishi. I don't know if you've had reishi yet.
I did. I think that was the one that was a bit bitter.
I'm really happy.
So we always say drink reishi of caution because it is very bitter.
But bitter the better. But
the thing is we have, in terms of reishi, which is very popular because of the benefits, which Simon will move on to. But we launched, actually, I'll talk about it afterwards. So yes, the westernized tongue takes time for reishi
to understand and enjoy.
Chaga is very nice.
Chaga's wonderful. But the thing with reishi is it's steeped heavily in a lot of research because of how profound some of these what reishi can offer. There's actually a compound called triterpene in there, and almost by just drinking it, you almost instantaneously calm the nervous system down. Now, I think in a time where there tends to be an epidemic in the state of anxiety, sleep anxiety even, or sleep deprivation, drinking something like reishi is a wonderful experience. And all these, when we talk about drinking these mushrooms, it's about consistency. It's not like the silver bullet kind of take this and you'll be fine. This is about consistency. And we come on to that, the reasons why later on. Now, triterpene, this compound, calms the nervous system down almost instantaneously, putting the body, if it's in a sympathetic, fight or flight, it puts it into a parasympathetic state. And that's a very good place to be. You want your body to be at that kind of, that level of like that homeostasis. And it also can activate the GABA pathway, which slows the neuroactivity down in the prefrontal cortex. So, just before going into maybe, I don't know, stressful situation or before going to bed, there's been some wonderful studies that have supported the idea that over a period of time, it can improve your sleep quality, mostly deep sleep. Now, we just have to circumvent that bitterness. But Andy's about to bring something up, which is quite interesting about because of that bitterness, we did something.
Well, so we have these pure powders, and one thing to mention about the pure powders, they are the purest, most potent form of extract powders available. They're just the mushrooms, we don't add anything to it. And it's 2,000 milligrams per serving. So it's a very healthy dose. And basically, most people will just add these to an existing drink, a coffee, a smoothie, or they drink as a tea. But obviously, we're building a mainstream brand. So we essentially developed a line of products called super blends. And super blends are essentially taking drinks people already consuming, coffee, cacao. We have others that are coming out soon. And what we do is we take the highest possible quality. So we have a very, that our coffee is organic, fair trade, 100% Arabica. It's a curated blend from Central America. So it tastes like a great cup of coffee. And then we blend that with mushrooms. So our coffee has lion's mane in there for focus, chaga for your immune system and skin. And it has cordyceps in there, which gives you all day long natural energy. We also blend it with maca as well for sort of gut health and digestion. And then ashwagandha for sort of calming effects. Nice. So what you end up doing is you having this coffee that you're having every morning is now this super coffee that's doing all these incredible things for your mind and your body. And then obviously something like the cacao, which we just launched, or a new recipe we launched, has 2,500 milligrams of mushrooms per serving, more mushrooms than we've ever put in a drink before. It has tremella, which is known as the beauty mushroom, which has hyaluronic acid in it. Activates natural collagen and skin.
To all the women listening immediately.
I think that part, that will go viral.
It produces natural moisture in the skin as well. Great for tackling blemishes, acne, rosacea, eczema, psoriasis. It also has turkey tail in it, which I mentioned before, which is incredible for your immune system. Also great for your gut biome. And it has reishi in there as well. So and the reason why that's important is because now suddenly the reishi doesn't taste bad or bitter. So the reishi does everything Simon mentioned in terms of its calming effects and improving sleep.
Probably quite important to say it's not a sedative though. So
it won't put you to sleep, so you can drink reishi any time of the day. It also has MCT in there, which is great for the brain. And it's also got moringa, which is a source of many vitamins, A, B, C, D, E, K vitamins as well. And then we also add coconut milk powder to that as well. So it's an absolutely delicious drink, and it has like 6 or 7 ingredients in it. So it's 4 times mushroom powder than our previous cacao, and it's actually very quickly becoming one of our best sellers as well. So these super blends are something that we'll likely see very soon on supermarket shelves, but not sold in the health and wellness section, but actually up against things like Nescafe and Nespresso, and because people are spending more on their health. So obviously we're a premium product, but with the highest possible quality ingredients. But people, if they're going to have a drink every morning, do you want to have coffee that over caffeinates yourself? We only use 80% less caffeine than a normal cup of coffee. But also our coffee stops the jitters and the crashes, and it actually improves your sleep because of the lion's mane in there.
Thank you. I want to definitely touch upon this because this is the bane of my life. I like coffee as a social drink. I don't need it. But that also means that anytime that I have an active day, if I grab 2 coffees, I won't sleep. I will not sleep.
It doesn't matter what time of the day, you mean?
Okay, if I have the second one, I don't know, 2 or 3 or something. It's goodbye. It's gone. Maybe if I have 1 coffee, sometimes very early on, which I don't want anyway because it's a social drink. So I'm grabbing it with friends or in a meeting or something else. So basically I can't have it. And so I need to take a decaf. But I don't also like just black coffee. I like, some sort of a note latte or whatever. And now I realize that actually all these alternative milks have been making me sick.
Right.
But I also can't really have normal milk because, I don't digest it well. So my solution for now is if I really want to have it, a decaf lactose-free milk, which nobody has. Only I can have it at home.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. I mean, I wish these blends that you're talking about, your brand, like they would be everywhere because then I would have a choice.
Yeah. So
that's the idea. Yeah.
And that is what we're working towards. So we are going around baristas and coffee shops all over the country.
I've seen you had some very cool pop-ups in Selfridges, right?
Yeah.
And also, was it Megan's? No, just in Fitzrovia, there's this.
Oh, Drunch.
Maybe.
Aphie.
Yeah. So places like Drunch and at Feast, and we're basically creating dirty menus. So people can now go to places like that and order a dirty Reishi cappuccino, for example, which is coffee and it's got Reishi in it. So the important thing is why add mushrooms to a coffee is because they're adaptogenic. So essentially with adaptogens, they're slow releasing energy that counters the spike of caffeine. So caffeine, you have a caffeine coffee and it has caffeine in it, you'll get this supercharge of energy. It's like a spike, it's a stimulant. And in your crash, like 2-3 hours afterwards, because that's how long it lasts, and then you get that like afternoon lull and you need another cup of coffee. The mushrooms stop that from happening, so you get a lot longer energy, but it's more slow releasing and you don't get the stimulation. As a result of that, you don't need to over caffeinate yourself because you're getting the natural energy from the chaga and the cordyceps in our mushroom coffee. So that's a really very important factor. But also mushrooms can help improve your sleep, so you're kind of solving a lot of issues there. So you're not getting the crashes, so you don't need the extra cup of coffee. You got 80% less caffeine because you get the natural energy from the mushrooms, and then mushrooms actually aid and improve the quality of your sleep. So we've had a lot of feedback from customers of saying, since I switched to your coffee, it's completely transformed my sleep.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the business side. How has it evolved since its inception?
From what perspective? Just from just the get-go?
Yeah. So 2021 to now, how is...
I mean, we moved very close off the bat. I mean, we've only been around for 2 years.
If that.
So, we set a blueprint to how we wanted to grow
But clearly, you already have a massive success. So that's why I ask. Is there...
I don't know if I'd say evolution. I think if you looked at our company now and how it was day one of we started, there's nothing different. It's still the same brand. It's still sold in the same way. I think, what's performed really well is that we've become very much a content business. So, we're very much inspired by businesses like Red Bull, which have content at its heart. They obviously don't have much to talk about because they don't want to say what's in their drinks. So they just do really cool, like...
Power of association.
Yeah, exactly. With like energetic, fast-paced sports, whereas we want to just talk about what we sell. So we make a lot of content that's purely about educating the consumer on the benefits of mushrooms and the science of mushrooms, and this whole fungi kingdom. And essentially what we've done is amass over 600,000 followers, and people just have this real hunger for knowledge. I say how we've evolved, but it was always the plan, is that Dirty World is really a platform.
An invitation.
So what DirTea's become is an authority in the world of health. So what's happened as a result of the pandemic is people are distrusting past health authorities or past authorities, whether that's governments, whether that's pharmaceuticals. They don't trust them. And they're looking for new leadership and new authorities that they can trust. And trust tends to come from good experiences, but also from transparency, which are two values that we really pride ourselves in. And as a result of that is that people are looking to us almost like we're their doctors. We're not doctors, so we can't medically advise them, although we have a medical board, we have nutritionists that work for us full time, so we are able to lend guidance. But also our products work, so they trust us. So if we bring out another product, we know it's going to sell very well because we know people are going to trust us and buy it because of the positive experience they've had from us, and also because we've become an authority. So how we've evolved is this whole dirty world is a place that people will come to now for all their health needs. So potentially dirty world can look like a different place in a few years' time that might not just be mushrooms and might be people's go-to place when they want something to do with wellness and health.
And we also spoke about before that I was trying to allude to before, is the fact that this product is not just a transactional experience. When people are purchasing, that I was saying it's an invitation because they want to be taken on a journey on the basis of why they may purchase cordyceps or lion's mane. And when I say it's not transactional, is our recurring. I mean, what's our recurring rate at the moment?
What do you mean?
With our consumers, every month we're 43%.
Yeah, so 43% of people who buy from us will rebuy within 30 days.
So we've got a long-term value of our customer. They're not so we have a responsibility as well. I think with most products it's easy just to kind of buy it off the shelf, or I think with us also we're very heavily a D2C brand. Like Annie said, we've built an amazing community online of over 600,000. That's all based on trust. And Annie's talking about education. I think the most important thing when you're building a brand is that it comes through transparency. Certainly from us, from Forest to Cup, everyone knows what they're getting is absolutely pure. And actually, remarkably, we don't have to do much on the basis of how people respond when they give us reviews, when they give their own testimonial, when they say that whatever the circumstances was when they came into drinking DirTea, before they may have been having
real life proof and constant feedback.
Which that part is,
all of your
I mean,
products.
on our
experience
website
is
we have over 6,000 reviews on our products on our website, which is like insane.
A lot.
Yeah,
and they're all 5 stars, by the way.
they are. Yeah.
The other thing is that what happens is with the business is that people tend to be with us for like 3 or 4 months, and they realize that DirTea is now part of their life, and they want to subscribe to it. So we ended up launching a 3, 6, and 12-month membership plan. So we now actually get people who subscribe through an annual program. So they pay up front for a year. They get a 40% discount for doing that. Yeah. Because they know they take it every day. Nothing's going to change. So we become quite a large subscription business as well.
And also, as lifestyle's concerned, we've never forced habits. We're literally elevating your coffee. Well, the fact is,
You mean you haven't changed people's habit because you're still drinking a coffee? You're just adding something to it. So it's not like a new drink, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that's proof also to the brand that we're building as well. We're part of their life.
You found a way to make something that people use every day just simply better and integrate something new.
Subliminally, it's become a necessity.
But it's also our mission is that. We believe this is going to happen, that every single person on this earth is going to drink mushrooms every day.
Great. I'm ready for that. I noticed that you guys, and you touched upon this briefly as well, community plays a really big part in your brand. I've seen the posts, I've seen you guys get together, swim. I think there was a news article of you guys swimming in the Hyde Park in the winter.
We go between 0 and 5 degrees. There's no excuse, but the reason we got a lot of press and attention is because it seems humanly stupid, but then if you look at the science, it's absolutely incredible for what it can do for the mind. But the most important part for us, like we're just saying, not transactional, we're building a community, and how wonderful that is. Andy's saying over 600,000 people are talking about us as part of our community. But bring that into a physical space. I think one thing that's happened coming out of COVID is this idea of loneliness. And loneliness, if you look at statistics, has surpassed other chronic symptoms of death, from heart failure to obesity.
How interesting, right? There's more of us than ever, and we're more connected than ever.
Well, yes. I was using this analogy before, which is interesting, that you can... We connect with more people in one day than our ancestors would have connected in a lifetime. Yet you can walk into a room and still feel like a stranger. And it's such a sad idea, because we're actually connecting with so many people online. But that sense of physical touch is something that a human being requires, and there's a lot of science that supports that as well.
What DirTea is doing is creating positive connections as well. Yeah. And I think what's really important, and what we've discovered, is if someone has come to buy mushrooms, it's an intention they want to be healthier, or they want to be more in control of their health. Yeah. And as a result of that, we've kind of become the gateway to people's wellness lifestyle. And comes with that as a responsibility. And because they see us as an authority and they trust us, we are now leading them on their health journey. So the community aspect is how we keep in touch with our community. It therefore influences the products we bring out. It influences the, like creating subscription packages, the content we create. So when you join the DirTea world, you start to get access to like exclusive content. But then also it starts to forge this whole idea of like coming together in events, because like Si says, people want to connect with each other and have positive connections, but they also want to get access to all these we were talking earlier about all these esoteric and niche health trends that people have kind of heard about and they don't know how to access. Like we have our own like in-house breath master, for example. So we've introduced to a lot of our community the power of breath. But the way we do that is very much like the mushrooms. We get the best experts. We educate you on breath and the power of breath and how you can bring that into your everyday, and then how you can do these more like holotropic type breathwork sessions as well. So you're absolutely right, and at the heart of what we are doing is building community.
Yeah, and the other thing I love about this, I think the heartbeat of the success is community, because this is that those who do come together, and let's say in the morning we do go lakeside, none of us would have really connected or known each other. And I did say loneliness does kill the spirit, and very candidly, a lot of people who do come have come from a very trauma, or have come from certain chronic symptoms, and they feel like every time they meet lakeside, we're healing in some capacity. That's incomparable. You've just allowed someone to have a better day. Just the idea of connecting with strangers, and those strangers become friends. And for some reason, what is enveloping is this idea of family. So the mushrooms, I've always found, has become, or DirTea's become, like the hearth, the fireplace that brings us all together. And then there's this absolute curiosity about what other things can we do to improve mind and body. But really, the heartbeat is the community. And I do believe it's hard for a brand to create that. This was created organically. We didn't, we believe in community, but the community built the community, and it's ever evolving, and it's a very democratized flat structure experience. So you have some great titans that come along. Bear Grylls is part of the tribe as well. We have some great guys who are rugby players, we have nurses, but we all come together and we just enjoy each other's company. Now, to do that in the morning before the sunrise or as the sun rises, and also I think it takes between 8 and 15 hugs a day to really increase that oxytocin. And we go through about 24 hugs in that day.
I keep saying that. So when I see my friends, I'm like, haha, hug time.
It's an important thing to hug.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's a nice excuse to kind of bring people together, and it's everyone has become DirTea lovers. Everyone has, like Andy was talking at the very beginning of this
DirTea lovers. That could be.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
That could be a title for something else.
There's your mind. Now your listeners get to understand who you really are. So, but like Andy was saying at the very beginning, that this was started on the basis that there's a sense of mycophobia, irrational fear of mushrooms, and what we have done, which we've always been able to do, like we're talking about with filling nuts and so forth, we can spin that at 180. We can penetrate the taboo surrounding mushrooms. And like Andy's saying, our purpose, our mission is to really globalize mushrooms and take this into consideration. We are on the precipice of this. This is really not a trend. This is not a moment.
It's very, very favorsome time.
It is. It's a movement. We are in the epicenter of a renaissance, and we have of mushrooms, and we have a big responsibility on our hands, and that's what gets us up in the morning. It doesn't matter what challenges are on the front lines. Bootstrapped up and take some of our dirty coffee, and then we're off to work.
I mean, you've segued me into my favorite question, which is, what is your purpose?
My purpose is on my right, and for the viewers watching, I don't know if they can work that out, but that's my brother. My purpose is obviously well-being is at the heart of it. If this is not well, then how can anything else be well? But I've grown up. It's very ageless with my brother and I. We have a very close connection. He's my heartbeat, my rock, and we've been through a lot together. And yeah, he's my purpose.
I mean, now that's unfair, because now I have to I'll say you're my purpose.
No, not at all.
No, so I think
I'd be very disappointed if you said
yeah. So for me is
no pressure.
What's really important for me is that Simon and I leave the world better than when we came to it. And I think what's really important to us is that there are many around us, particularly from previous generations, that have not really understood the value of health, and that you can take control of it. And I think I really do see our purpose as bringing to the world tools, but also education to really empower people to take control of their health so they can live happier, healthier, longer lives. I think I'm really happy at the time that we were born in terms of this generation, because I don't think our parents' generation understood the power of the mind and things like mindfulness. I'm reading Michael Singer's book at the moment, and the guys, he wrote the book The Untethered Soul and then The Surrender Experiment, and he's really mastered this whole idea about being present and stop trying to take control and stop having attachments and all this kind of stuff. I don't think our parents' generation ever got the gift of that knowledge and understanding. So I feel that, not that we're ever going to be like Michael Singer, but I feel like, what's our role? And it is really making sure people that can live, happier, healthier lives as a result of taking control of their health.
Beautiful. So everywhere I look in your journey, it's always the Salter brothers, the Mushroom brothers. So you've clearly been doing things always together.
Yeah, always.
Sure.
That kind of goes, including the businesses, which kind of goes against that typical advice of don't do business with your family and friends.
Yeah.
So I guess seeing that so far you've been successful, what are your golden rules, your do's and don'ts in making it work?
As a sibling?
By working with family,
Yeah. Well, there's one thing I brought up before. I don't know if you want to say, you're about to say something, but I can.
No, go on.
Well, I mean, I know scientifically you can't be angry more than 90 seconds. I said 10 minutes, but I know it's scientifically you can't be angry more than 90 seconds.
Really?
Anything beyond that is nothing more than optional. To know that we're on a shared pursuit. Should there be any challenges with each other, I mean, you put those emotions to one side. We haven't ever really fallen out, and if we have, it's kind of dispelled, and it allows us to have a deeper, more respectful kind of connection with each other. Also, there's a sense of we're each other's cheerleader, like really pushing each other. It's not easy what we're doing. No one ever said it was ever going to be easy, and that's the great challenge. So it's easy to bow out, but we're there to really support each other, and I'm very proud of him. So it's really rare to kind of build a business with a sibling. I get that, but we've been through a lot, and it's been a great test.
When you say you've been through a lot.
Oh, I mean, loads of ups and downs.
Yeah. There's a whole other podcast.
How do you go through the downs?
So I think I touched on like loneliness earlier. I think when you are an entrepreneur, it's quite a lonely place to be. If you think about your team in your office, not everyone, but people clock out at 6 and they go to the pub, or they go and see their friends, or they go to the cinema. You're still there at the end. So, even though I wouldn't say, I think with the DirTea team, people really care. Like they absolutely love their job and they love the purpose, and it's for them, they're part of a success story as well. So it's quite a unique situation. But at the end of the day, is like we have a marriage and affinity to a brand. People that are part of a team that work for you don't. So you're on your own. I think what's nice with Sai and I is that in the highs or the lows, we're never alone, which makes dealing with the uncomfortable situations a lot better. Because at the end of the day, as things fuck up, we have each other, which is the most important thing. I think in terms of your question on the sibling thing, is that
the golden rules.
The golden rules. I think it's very difficult to find. It's quite unique that what we have and how close we are. I think it's amazing if you have a friendship with someone. Doesn't necessarily have to be family. Is to go on a journey where you really have someone you really care for and you want them to be successful, and you don't have any intentions of like really putting yourself first. You're in it together. That is like key, because it's very easy for things to kind of get in your way, things like equity and money and ego, and as long as like there's a foundation set up and an understanding from the beginning, you don't ever talk about it again. You have a contract with your partner, whether it's your sibling or your friend, you don't look at it again. Like that's how things are sort of set up.
So you discuss the uncomfortable things up front.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's not really uncomfortable for us. We're equal in everything. Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh, we are. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm very excited.
But yeah, like we're equal in everything. I think the important thing is like, we don't see ourselves as better than each other. I think we know where our strengths are, and we are, we have similar interests. We get on really well. Like we're best friends, but we also know where our strengths are. So, Sai knows that, I perform very well in a certain role, and I know he performs really well in a certain role. So there's no conflict in that aspect. And you have sibling rivalries as well, and that doesn't really exist here.
Where do those manifest?
Maybe in sport. With us?
Yeah, with us, it's
sport. Like we're both badly. I know I'm a bad loser, and I'm very competitive, and have to win at everything.
Yeah.
So you can get quite ugly in those things, but we leave that stuff on the court.
The other thing is vulnerability. You know, it's quite tough. Maybe personally saying as a man, you know, sharing vulnerability can be, but with each other, those weaknesses actually do become the strengths because you get the opportunity to share and challenge those weaknesses. And I think in business, you always kind of put a shield up. You know, you don't want other people to think that you do have a weakness, but that's all the sense. I think that's all sense of this personal growth within business and outside business. And there's a lot of teachings we have.
It's also nice to know, like when you know, you saying about this whole idea of long journeys and stuff like this. When this journey comes to an end, like taking DirTea for example, it's nice to know that, wow, like I went through this entire thing with my brother and we did it and we made it to the end, whatever the end looks like for us in terms of the company. A positive ending, by the way. It sounds weird when you say end. It's amazing we get to say like we fucking did it, you know, like we went through all of that and everything we wanted to happen happened, and we get to really celebrate that and respect that journey together, which is nice, rather than you know, maybe a girlfriend or a parent or a friend that wasn't involved. It's nice for them to have watched the journey, but to have someone you actually went on it with, that's really special. And that, you know, the senior management as well at DirTea it's become family. Like a family as well. It is a family, like, you know, there's 2 others that are involved that are brother and sister as well, but we've all become like a family unit, which is nice. And that's, I think, because that's how it started. We set the foundations culturally that DirTea is a family. And when you join DirTea, you know, whether you're a senior management or you're an assistant or an intern, you're joining a family, which is important.
There's another part I think I've experienced with both James and Jess, is the fact that it's this undeniable kind of love that we have for each other. My God, you take that into business, that's a rarity in itself. And even when you are being challenged and, you know, then you get on the phone afterwards and you have a chat with one of them or something, it's all out of love. Tell me, I mean, it's very hard to find a business where you can build something out of love, because we all have agendas, you know, in the sense of what you want to bring out of it. But they've been great teachers as well. They really have. It's really the best university I could ever think of.
I mean, what I'm hearing is that this incredible companionship that you've provided for each other have been absolutely crucial in you being able to create all the businesses that you did and just, you know, have this relationship that you have. So as you said, loneliness is the #1 killer right now, and you've been spared from that from well, day one for you, very soon after.
6 years I'm ahead of you, aren't I? In some, and interesting, it doesn't seem like that in the slightest. So yeah, I feel this has also almost become a therapy session. I mean,
but this is about you guys, about your lives, not just about DirTea.
God, you're a good
Maybe
therapist.
You didn't know that when you signed up.
No, there's a nuance to this conversation, but there you go.
So is there any tough aspects in working with each other?
If they were tough, they were always with good intentions. So if Annie's pushing me in a certain way, or if I haven't got something done or something, I mean,
it's probably a bit annoying for him if younger brother's telling you what to do. You know?
No, but I know, that's what I mean. That's why I think the ages thing's quite interesting.
Whereas like I think things are like ageless. Like the fact he's older than me, some circumstances comes into play, but the majority is like
I think
I'll tell him what to do.
So I'm 39, born in 1983, and I turn 40 on June 28th, and I've never once in this whole journey, that if you want to call it journey, I've never really thought about my age. And I'll tell you why in the beginning, because we were doing everything that we weren't supposed to do. We were never part of the assembly line of life, and there were some great challenges, but it was always exciting to not know what was going to come next. But you know, you were fully armed, you believed, and I've always believed. But this year, being 40 is quite an interesting figure. It seems old, but then I look at what's been achieved and the way I'm thinking about myself and what comes in the future and where we are.
Look about 18, so
yeah,
that helps.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I hope certainly with that light. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of teachings on this, and maybe that kind of makes you feel younger in some capacity. You know, even if there are stresses and they're good stresses. But I think, the other thing I was going to say is one thing I've learned on this is wasted energy. The idea that you can invest all your time and grit and stress on a very minimal thing of an argument, and now you carry that through the whole day. What a waste! What wasted energy where you can divert that into something that's more positive.
Yes. I was speaking to one of my coaching clients the other day, and basically I was just saying, like, if you want to achieve this goal and your frustrations are coming from the fact that you're still not there, by you allowing yourself to be stressed and overwhelmed and overtaken by doubt and fear and anxiety because you're not there, all of that is that mind space that's being taken away from you actually creating a plan and taking action towards where you want
it's
to be.
voluntary almost.
It's unnecessary
Yeah.
Suffering.
yeah, unnecessary, just unnecessary, in one word, unnecessary.
Yeah.
Take that away and your mind space becomes that much bigger for you to be able to go towards where you want to be. Speaking of mindset, if I asked you to describe your mindset in a couple of words, what would you say?
Hi there! I hope you're enjoying this episode. You can listen to the full audio version for free on your favorite podcast app. And if you are enjoying this video version, I invite you to join my exclusive Patreon community to support the making of the show and to unlock a ton of exclusive content, such as the full video episodes, bloopers, some controversial topics, and more personal questions from the guests, and much more. Link is in the description below.